The movie begins with a tense scene. A man is strapped to a stretcher, surrounded by police officers, prison guards, and observers from the research department. This man is Lee Ray Oliver, a notorious criminal with a long, violent history. He is moments away from being executed by lethal injection. As the procedure begins and the serum is administered, Oliver experiences vivid flashbacks from his past. These haunting memories reveal the brutal environment he grew up in, a harsh, unforgiving world where violence was a daily reality. We see his mother, beaten nearly to death, and witness the cruelty he endured from other boys in the dormitory. These traumatic experiences shaped Oliver into the dangerous man he became, hardened and cold-hearted. The flashback sequence intensifies as the final injection is administered. It seems to symbolize the end, not just of his life, but of his tormented soul. Just when it appears that Oliver's story is over, the real experiment begins. Sometime later, several police officers, accompanied by members of the research department, arrive at the city morgue with a body. It's revealed that the corpse is Lee Ray Oliver. In a shocking twist, Oliver suddenly wakes up as if he has been brought back from the dead. Standing beside him is Dr. Michael Copeland, who calmly explains the truth. Oliver was never actually executed. The injections he received contained only salt water, a controlled setup to make him believe he had died. The entire procedure was a staged opportunity to offer him a second chance. Dr. Copeland further reveals that he has developed an experimental drug designed to suppress violent impulses and relieve extreme emotional stress. However, the potential side effects are still unknown. Oliver is presented with a life-altering choice. The warden gives him 1 minute to decide. He can either volunteer to participate in the research or return to being a corpse in the morgue. Facing no real alternative, Oliver accepts the offer. As Oliver is taken away for the experiment, the scene shifts. Meanwhile, the police warden is brutally beaten for allowing Oliver to escape his death sentence. Dimi Vertov, one of Oliver's longtime enemies, was pleased when Oliver was sentenced to prison. However, now that Oliver has survived, Dimi gives the warden one final chance to track him down and deliver him alive. Dimi wants to settle the score and eliminate Oliver once and for all. Meanwhile, Oliver is seen handcuffed and lying on a stretcher. Agent Brock is instructed to stay in charge of him and to give Oliver a pill every 6 hours. Dr. Michael Copeland formally introduces himself and explains the purpose of the experimental drug called Anagress. The drug is designed to reduce Oliver's aggression and violent tendencies, gradually turning those impulses into feelings of compassion and empathy. After some time, Dr. Michael Copeland returns to the observation room and gives Oliver the chance to have his hands freed. However, Oliver immediately takes advantage of the situation and attempts to escape. A tense chase ensues through the facility, until Agent Norton finally subdues Oliver using a taser, bringing him back into custody to resume the testing. Later, Dr. Michael returns home, where his ex's dog, Aiku, is resting. Soon after, his ex-wife, Barbara Copeland, visits briefly. As she leaves, his co-worker, Eden Ross, unexpectedly appears, walking down after swimming. She jokingly claims she was hiding in the closet, adding a light, humorous moment to the otherwise serious narrative. But the focus quickly shifts back to Oliver. He undergoes a procedure where his tattoos and identifying marks are removed. Dr. Michael explains that these changes are part of a deeper transformation. The real work is happening inside his body as the drug begins to take effect. Oliver is then placed in a simulation, where he participates in a shooting game. Initially, he excels, easily surpassing everyone's high scores. However, when the game's difficulty is increased to the hardest level, Oliver quickly loses his temper, revealing his lingering volatility. After he regains his composure, Dr. Michael questions him about his past involvement in mob killings. Oliver avoids the topic, trying to deflect the conversation. When Dr. Michael presses further and asks about Oliver's mother's death, Oliver corrects him, saying he was only 10 years old at the time and that he witnessed everything. The next day, Dr. Michael brings Oliver in for a PET scan. Oliver appears unusually calm, playing cards and pretending the drug is working. However, as soon as he sees an opportunity, he grabs a knife and threatens to kill someone in an attempt to escape. Reacting quickly, Michael defends himself by pushing Oliver down a flight of stairs and subdues him with a brutal beating. Frustrated by Oliver's resistance, Dr. Michael later recommends increasing his drug dosage. In another test, one of the agents deliberately drops Oliver's meal to provoke him, hoping to trigger his temper. To everyone's surprise, Oliver remains composed and calmly says that it's not a problem, showing no anger at all. But the calm is only on the surface. Oliver begins to be haunted by memories of his past, particularly the time he shot Gary without reason. The guilt weighs heavily on him, and one night, the emotional burden becomes too much. Dr. Michael is urgently called in when Oliver breaks down, crying uncontrollably over his actions. Through tears, Oliver confesses everything to Dr. Michael, who reassures him and genuinely appreciates that Oliver is finally starting to acknowledge his mistakes. Later that day, Dr. Arlo Penner advises moving forward with extreme caution, warning that the entire situation could be a trap set by Oliver. Despite the concerns, Michael remains committed to the process and insists they continue cooperating with Oliver. They release Oliver into an apartment, granting him some freedom while keeping him under constant surveillance. Dr. Michael explains that Oliver must now navigate life on his own, but will remain under observation. The purpose is to see how he behaves in public, among crowds, and in the real world. As Oliver steps out into society, the team closely monitors him. He moves from store to store, asking for job opportunities, but faces repeated rejection. He also responds to newspaper job ads, but luck seems to escape him. Eventually, Oliver stumbles upon a workshop where he is finally hired by Teresa, marking his first success in rejoining society. Not long after, Oliver has a secret meeting with a man at a supermarket where he buys a handgun in an undercover deal. This unexpected purchase raises serious doubts about his progress and sparks curiosity about whether his behavior is truly changing or if he is simply playing everyone. Back at his apartment, Oliver begins to search for hidden cameras, clearly suspecting that he is under constant surveillance and that his cover might already be compromised. That same night, Oliver cleverly calls Agent Brock, asking him to bring sleeping pills. When Brock arrives, Oliver offers him a drink secretly laced with the very same pills. His manipulation shows that Oliver may still have his own plans. Meanwhile, Vlas, his old nemesis, is quietly watching from outside the apartment, waiting patiently for the right moment to strike. Once Agent Brock falls asleep, Oliver quietly escapes the building through the back exit. However, Agent Norton quickly picks up his trail and begins pursuing him. Despite Norton's efforts, Oliver manages to evade capture, though he is soon followed by Vlas, who is still tracking him. Meanwhile, Dr. Michael suggests visiting Gary's house, believing that confronting this memory might help resolve Oliver's emotional instability. Oliver eventually finds Gary and sits beside him. Speaking gently, Oliver calls him his friend and offers him candies, trying to bring him some joy. He apologizes for hurting him, speaking almost as though from a third-person perspective, distancing himself from his past actions. Gary, now mentally disabled, responds in an abnormal but innocent way and unknowingly accepts the apology. Suddenly, Bill, Gary's brother, arrives and sees Oliver. Disturbed by the encounter, Bill quietly decides to track Oliver down. On his way home, Oliver gets into a brief gunfight with Vlas. Oliver wins the fight and spares Vlas, sending him back with a message for Vertov. Oliver is a changed man now, and it's time to stop the chase. Unfortunately, Oliver's troubles aren't over. Michael and the team catch him soon after, and Dr. Arlo Penner urges Michael to seriously consider moving on to another test subject if Oliver shows any more suspicious behavior. Michael agrees. This is Oliver's final chance. Another day, another test. Oliver spends time with Teresa at a car wash, and their connection begins to grow into something deeper as they start sharing personal feelings. Meanwhile, Bill arrives at King's Market, the place where Oliver once bought candies for Gary. Bill asks about Oliver but leaves without finding any useful information. Later that day, Oliver walks home and unexpectedly runs into Michael, who offers him a ride. During their drive, Oliver encourages Dr. Michael to open up about his own life. Michael reveals that he had a son who was tragically murdered when he was just 8 years old. Later, Dr. Michael meets his ex-wife, Barbara, at a restaurant. During their conversation, Michael hands her the divorce papers and briefly discusses a school project agreement, signaling that they are formally ending their relationship but still share professional ties. Meanwhile, Bill resurfaces but at the worst possible time. He drives past the workshop just as Oliver is leaving with Teresa. Bill approaches the shop owner and asks about Oliver, revealing that Oliver is the man who shot his brother in the head years ago. That night, Oliver and Teresa spend time together at an amusement park, enjoying a rare moment of peace. However, Oliver suddenly spots Vlas nearby and quickly tries to hide. Before Vlas can approach, police officers notice him carrying a gun in public and swiftly intervene, forcing Vlas to retreat. Later, Oliver returns home, but the agents tailing him struggle to find a parking spot and circle the area instead. Meanwhile, Agent Norton, monitoring the surveillance feed, notices suspicious activity and rushes to the scene. Outside the building, he discovers that Bill has ambushed Oliver and is holding him at gunpoint. A brief scuffle breaks out, and Bill is shot. Wounded but determined, Bill forces Oliver into his car, disables the GPS tracker, and drives off. When the other agents arrive, they report the kidnapping to Dr. Arlo Penner, who immediately orders a citywide manhunt. Bill brings Oliver to his home and forces him to confess, word for word, what he did to Gary. Oliver complies, fully owning his past actions. However, to Bill's shock, Gary suddenly shouts that Oliver is his friend and tells Bill to let him go. Seizing the opportunity, Oliver escapes and rushes to a public phone booth to call Dr. Michael for help. Michael agrees to meet him, but he is also being closely watched. Realizing the danger, Oliver decides to face the situation alone. He visits the nearest pharmacy and desperately asks for Anagress, only to be told the drug doesn't exist on the market. The revelation shakes him, and he begins to lose control of his emotions. At that moment, Vlas reappears. Oliver and Vlas engage in a gunfight, and after an intense battle, Oliver finally takes him down. With no one else to turn to, Oliver runs to Teresa for help. However, her boss has already revealed the truth about his past, and she initially refuses to assist him. Despite several attempts to win her trust, Oliver eventually convinces her, and together, they manage to escape the agents once again. Now fully aware of the changes within himself, Oliver becomes singularly focused on finding the pills he believes are keeping him stable. As a final effort, he visits Dr. Michael Copeland at his home and desperately begs him for the Anagress pills. Trusting Oliver, Michael contacts Eden Ross at the office and asks her to secretly deliver the Anagress supply to his home. Unbeknownst to Michael, Eden has already struck a deal with Dr. Arlo Penner. In the end, Arlo arrives at Michael's home with federal agents. He reveals the shocking truth. The other test subjects died of liver disease within 6 weeks, and Oliver's pills were nothing more than vitamins. The entire treatment was a placebo. The drug had no real effect. In a bold move, Dr. Michael risks his career and his life by helping Oliver escape through the back door and driving him to the airport. As they flee, Oliver feels overwhelmed with guilt, especially after hearing the truth about his medication. He is stunned to realize that his transformation came from within, not from any drug. During the escape, they are chased by the agents. Oliver pulls him to safety and helps him ashore. Grateful, Oliver thanks Dr. Michael for giving him the chance to start a new life, just moments before Oliver is tragically shot. However, Barbara had already contacted the authorities, who arrived just in time. They arrest the corrupt department members involved in the illegal experiments and take them into custody, including those responsible for attempting to kill Oliver. The movie ends on an ambiguous yet hopeful note, showing Dr. Michael and Barbara Copeland opening a youth center for development. Despite all the pain and loss, they appear to find peace and happiness as they begin their new chapter. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.